Coming up on today's episode of The Health Review.
I want to help women not feel crazy anymore. I didn't like the person that I was. And I was literally in the bathroom, curled over, like screaming, because it was literally felt like heightened like contraction. It was that painful.
Wow. It's really hard in the moment to realise
Yeah.
this is the hormone speaking.
It's not spoken enough about, and there's not enough knowledge given to women to understand their bodies and what they have to go through. Nature's got some amazing ingredients, and if they're used in the right way, they can just be so powerful.
Hello, welcome back to The Health Review. Thanks for joining. And on today's show, we're going to dive into a topic that affects millions of women worldwide, but is still not fully understood: female hormones. Now, we know that more than 90% of women at some point in their life will experience PMS symptoms. That could be bloating, fatigue, mental health struggles. Up to 8% of women suffer with PMDD, which we know is a more severe version of PMS. If we zoom out even further, we know that around 80% of women will experience some kind of hormonal issue throughout their life. So this is huge, and it's something that I really want to find out about more with our guests. And today we're going to be talking about this with Casey Batchelor, who has her own experience with some hormonal issues. She's a public figure, a mother of three, a wellness founder, and also a yoga instructor. We're going to talk about her experience with PMS, adenomyosis. We're going to find out what's really helped her and an exciting new project that she's working on at the moment. Casey, thanks for coming on.
Hello, thank you for having me.
And I just mentioned there that you're a mother of three. Congratulations.
Yeah, tough work.
Yeah, you must be very busy. You've spoken out before about how your body changed after having children, after pregnancy, hormonal changes. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, after each one, I would say it probably got worse. Fatigue, mood swings. I was genuinely a very chilled person. Nothing really bothered me. But after having my children, I got very agitated. I'd snap very quickly. I'd have a lot of mood swings. And also my menstruation got really, really heavy, which I didn't really have before. So definitely after children, all hormonal changes were severe, really.
That's really difficult because I think we know perimenopause actually potentially begins a lot younger than we thought. And I think after 30 up, I think a lot of women's periods get heavier, potentially more painful with the decline in certain hormones. But when that can also be affected by having children, it's like a huge shift in the body. Yeah,
absolutely. And also, you know, I never used to get ovulation cramps, but as I've got older, I'm not sure if this is due with children or it is just probably as I've got older, I'd have ovulation cramps. There was one time when I would never know when I was ovulating, but now I do know. And I was literally in the bathroom, curled over, like screaming, because it was literally felt like the heightened like contraction. It was that painful.
Wow.
I was in so much pain. It only lasted a couple of minutes and then it would just go. But I'd never had ovulation cramps. And I was like, oh my God, now I'm dealing with ovulation cramps. Not only have I got fatigue and mood swings, heavy menstruation, I've now got ovulation cramps. I'm probably going to hit perimenopause soon. I mean, there's just so much that gets thrown at women and we have to deal with it.
When you mention also perimenopause, you know, especially as women, we have children much later.
Yeah.
You know, perimenopause can hit very quickly after having children. Yeah. And you've got a lot to deal with because you're raising those kids and toddlers and so busy and fitting in, you know, careers, and then throw in also all these hormonal changes. It can be really, really challenging and a very sort of difficult time for a lot of women at that point in their life. In terms of the sort of biggest shifts that you noticed in your body, you've spoken out about how you've experienced quite severe PMS in the past and adenomyosis. How did you kind of get those diagnoses? So you had these symptoms. Did you manage to get any support or help from your doctor?
Well, to be honest with you, to begin with, I just kind of dealt with it because I thought that's what we had to do. It was just part of being a woman. And obviously they were bad. And I actually researched to begin with what can help me with my PMS and found that there was actually tablets out there and stuff. And I was like, wow, like, how is this not promoted? How is it not made clear to women that you don't actually have to suffer in silence? And there actually is medication that you can take, which obviously I don't really want medication. Or there is actually, botanical stuff out there that you can take as well. And that's what I did loads of research on and found out that there's support out there, but it's not promoted. And I didn't understand why. Why are we not told that we can support this? And obviously with the heavy bleeding, I was just told, oh, you've had children. It's just something that happens. It will get better in time. It never got better. It probably got worse. And going back and through to the doctors quite a few times. And then in the end, I actually went to a private doctor and paid. And they did an internal scan and told me that I had adenomyosis. And this is something that actually can happen from having C-sections. And I've had 1 natural birth and 2 C-sections. So I probably got the adenomyosis because of having children. And that's how I got the diagnosis.
Wow, I didn't know there was a link between C-sections.
Yeah.
That is scary.
Yeah.
How bad did it get for you when you were going through that? So in terms of the heavy bleeding, how did that affect you?
Well, I couldn't really leave the house. I would literally probably go through. So, when you get like night pads, with like the really big night pads, I'd have to wear them in the days. Obviously, I wouldn't bleed from front to back, but side to side, and I would overflow. And I'd probably go through about 8 of them a day, like literally every hour I'd be overflowing. And I'd go onto my car seats. I always spill onto my bed, onto the sofa. So I couldn't go out to restaurants because I'd stand up and I would. I remember being in the hairdressers and she was cutting my hair and I didn't even know that I'd actually come on, and I stood up and there was a puddle of blood that I was sitting on, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. But she was, oh, don't be stupid. Luckily it was a leather plastic chair so we could just wipe it away. But that would happen to me all the time. So I literally couldn't really leave the house. That was how bad that it got with the bleeding. Thankfully, it was only for about 3 days, but I know some people, especially now, because obviously with launching my 222, I get people message me and they have that for like 5 to 6 days, and it's crazy. And all the doctors offer you is either putting you on the pill, which is really not good for you because you're just giving yourself fake periods every month. So you're not really helping the hormones. Or they offer you a hysterectomy, which is going to put you into perimenopause. So it's like, why do I want to do that to my body? And that's why I looked into, all the botanicals, and that's why I created 222, really.
On the hysterectomy note, I went to a health event recently with a panel discussion, and 2 of the women on the panel had sort of medical hysterectomies. They went into menopause obviously early, and they were in their 30s after having children, and they had endometriosis, I think, and this was one of the only treatments because they were so desperate. But they weren't aware about the menopause aspect and how severe that can be, and didn't really have the support. And this was perhaps 10 years ago, and obviously things have moved forward now with women's health and with the menopause, thankfully, and it's moving in the right direction. But they both said that, the one thing that they wish they'd had was more education about what going into medical menopause means when you are in your late 30s and raising children. And basically, they may not have had the hysterectomy and they may have looked at other routes.
Yeah, I mean, 10 years ago, it was never spoken about. I feel like it's only been like the past 3 years that it's kind of really come to light and people are speaking about it. Because before, I think it was like a taboo subject. Like you couldn't speak about PMS, you couldn't speak about your periods. And I feel like it's becoming more open now. It's more of an open conversation. And like even in office buildings, they have like, the wellness spaces and, spaces for menopause and things like that for women, because I think it's become a subject which actually this is a real thing that they have to deal with. Like, we need to help this situation.
Yeah. And I mean, as I said when I was setting up, that 90% of women at some point will experience PMS symptoms.
Yeah.
It could just be a little bit. So some people, lucky people, just get a bit of bloating and they think, oh, maybe their breasts are a bit tender. Think, oh, I must be due on soon. On the more extreme scale, severe PMS, PMDD, it can be severe depression, suicidal thoughts on the more severe end, feeling low, feeling snappy, irritated, fatigue, really bad fatigue.
Yeah, all of that. I have all of that. Well, not no more, thankfully.
We'll get on to that.
Yeah.
I also have experienced pretty bad PMS at points, and I went to the doctors because I've been on a healthy diet, exercising, trying, all the things, and this was quite a while, maybe a couple of years ago, and they said that, what we can give you is an antidepressant. And I think an SSRI, and they recommended taking it 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off, which I also found crazy. It's like, I don't know how safe that is to be sort of dabbling with, I don't know, I'm sure there are lots of people doing it and perhaps it works well for them. But so I've always been interested in more natural routes. I have found that personally, because I've mentioned on the show many times, I used to work on breakfast shows, getting up at 4 a.m. And for me, that is terrible. I'm much more of a late riser. So I am finding that actually being in a much calmer, my whole body's in a much more relaxed state, and that's really helped my symptoms, which has been great. But I have had points where I thought I just need something that's going to alleviate this stress that I'm under, and you're under it for 1 week every month at least.
Yeah, and that's the thing with hormones. There's so much to do with hormones, with it being stress, lack of sleep, periods, PMS, there's so much that goes on. Just being healthy, eating and exercising is not going to help balance your hormones out. There's so much more that comes into it with your body being in stress, too much exercise, not enough sleep. So you have to take every factor into account.
And on the note of a natural alternative, not going on antidepressants perhaps, but obviously, if you are experiencing PMS, perhaps having a conversation with your doctor is the right thing to start with and work out what's best for you. Some people find that a natural lifestyle change is beneficial, so re-evaluating is good. But you have launched a product which can help with all of this. 222 Collective.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Oh my God, I'm so excited about this. So, obviously after having the children, like I said, my PMS just went absolutely wild, and I just didn't know what to do about it, because I didn't feel like me anymore. I wasn't me. I wasn't the person who I used to be, and I didn't like the person that I was. I had no patience, and I had so much patience before. So like I said, I did loads of research and found that there was loads of botanical plants and minerals that can help with PMS. And I found some supplements. I was like, oh, do you know what? I'll try that. So I ordered loads of different ones, obviously researched all the ingredients. And I found a lot of them have the same ingredients in, and some are different. And I felt like one worked, one didn't so much work. And I realized that there were so many more ingredients out there that people wouldn't use. One, because they're hard to resource. Two, because they're expensive. They're going to, eat into their product. So I was like, do you know what? I'm going to do something here. I'm going to create something that's going to help women. I don't care how much it costs. I don't care how much profit I'm going to be making. My main aspect is I want to help women not feel crazy anymore, because I don't feel like me, and I didn't like the person that I was. So I did loads of research of what plants I wanted to do. And then I found a factory with some scientists, and obviously I paid, and I said to them, I want to create a formula. I don't care the cost. I want it to be incredible. I want the right milligrams in there, because a lot of products don't actually have the right milligrams that are actually going to touch the sides of you. And I want amazing ingredients in there. So we went back and forth. It took us a year to perfect the formula. And anyway, I created a formulation with 12 ingredients. And as far as I know, no one's done a formulation with that many ingredients before, because I feel like with only a few ingredients, ashwagandha is great, but it's not really going to work for everybody, and what ingredient's going to work for that person might not work for that one. And there's ingredients in that are expensive, which people won't touch. So I created this formula, and it's been so incredible, the feedback so far. Literally, like when you said about PMDD with suicidal thoughts, I've got a few people with PMDD that have been taking it. And the messages I've been receiving from them saying where they used to have suicidal thoughts, they've not had any now, which for me is such a huge achievement. Like even with myself, I'd get depression and anxiety. I used to get it for about 2 to 3 days a month, mainly after ovulation, because that's when your hormones drop. And I don't know when I felt depressed last and anxious, and I'd always snap at the girls, and that's gone now. I feel like I've milked a unicorn or something because the results have gone beyond what I thought that they was going to do. I knew it was going to be good. Yeah. I knew it was going to work, but it's gone even beyond what I thought it was going to do. It's just been incredible, the feedback.
That's really exciting. And it's nice when you're able to, use your own experience, your own passion. I feel like so many people who work in the health industry, either doctors or people launching products and businesses, they have a drive because they've experienced some kind of hardship when it comes to their health. I know for me personally, I went through my own health struggles. I used to get chronic UTIs and kidney infections. And then I had to overhaul my whole lifestyle. And I saw the benefits of lifestyle changes and how that can really impact your future. And that kind of led me to want to go down this route and do a show. And I feel like everyone's got a story as to what their mission is. And you're on a mission to help women through these hormonal struggles. And I guess, a little bit of irritability can be expected. But when it is an extreme, and it is the severe depression, the extreme fatigue and the anger and the rage, that is your body telling you that there is something not quite right.
And it's not you. That's not you as a person. It's just your hormones that are out of balance. So when people think, it's not like you shouldn't get yourself down because it's not you. It's just your hormones need balancing, and then you'll just be you again, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really hard in the moment to realize
Yeah.
this is the hormones speaking, and also partners. It's hard for them to realize perhaps having that communication. So how has it been with your partner through this whole process, sort of when it was bad to like where you are now?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously he noticed the difference in me after having children, and I would snap at him for no reason, and all men leave the cupboard kitchen doors open or, leave their pants on the floor.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really bother me so much anymore, where before it really irritate me.
Yeah.
But, he's noticed the difference, and the feedback, he's been seeing the messages that I've been getting, and he's just been like, wow, like, this is amazing how many women you're actually helping. Like, what an achievement that you've done. And honestly, every day I get these messages and I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is actually incredible. Like, I'm so happy that I've been able to help. Thousands of women now have purchased it. So there must have been crying out there for it because so many people are wanting it.
With the 222 collective, the product is called Balance Me.
Balance Me, yeah.
Is it designed to target a specific sort of hormonal issue, or could it be used by any woman?
No, it's not. It's for just balancing your hormones in general. So, like I say, people with PMDD have been taking it, PCOS, adenomyosis, endometriosis, but just anyone with PMS. I've had people ask me about their teenagers taking it. And obviously I say, where they're still developing their hormones, you should always consult with your doctor first. But if they've started their cycles, then it's all natural, the ingredients. So it can only do anything but help. But obviously, if anyone is on medication, then they should always check with the doctor first. But yeah, it can be from anyone from teenage years to PMS to perimenopause, menopause, and literally beyond, because it helps with hot flushes, sleep, anything.
We spoke off mic before we started recording about some of the exciting ingredients you've got.
Yeah.
Things like saffron, which I have been talking about a lot. There's a lot of evidence now for saffron.
Yeah.
There's evidence to suggest, if you read the studies that are online, that if you take it at a certain amount for up to 2 months, it can be as effective as an antidepressant without the negative side effects.
Such an amazing ingredient. I feel like it's one of my queen ingredient in the product, really. But where it works alongside the magnesium and the ashwagandha and the lemon balm and the blue passion flower, they just work in harmony with each other, and it's just amazing what you can do. And literally with the 222 Balance Me, you can notice effects within hours. Like, you can note some of the ingredients will affect within that day. Some will be in a couple of days, some will be a couple of weeks, but obviously the full benefit would be taking it, every day, consistency over months. But I've had women message me and they say, I've only taken it this morning and I feel great. Does it work that quick? And I'm like, yeah, it can work that quick, because some of the ingredients will take 2 to 4 hours to take effect.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like also it highlights the importance of lifestyle and how you don't have to necessarily always take these pharmaceutical drugs to balance you or to figure it out. As we know, sometimes these actually mask what's going on.
And also the side effects of some of them can be worse than the effects that you're actually getting. I mean, nature's got some amazing ingredients, and if they're used in the right way, they can just be so powerful.
Yeah, and now we have the benefit of studies that have been published.
Yeah.
I'm also a big advocate for testing as well. Something I've done a couple of times recently is just testing my hormones through, not always through the NHS, because obviously that's a bit more difficult in the UK if you're trying to get an appointment with your GP. But there are some private
Number
companies.
48 in the queue.
Yeah, exactly. I have a clinic actually that's popped up not that far from where I live, and sometimes I'll just pop in there if I'm thinking like, I just want to check, how my hormones are looking.
Yeah.
You can do blood tests and stuff that can also back up how you're feeling. So if you are feeling better or you're not feeling so good or whatever, you can sort of do a test and see, where am I at?
Absolutely.
Because the data now, I feel like the data that we have available, if we can tap into it, can be helpful.
And I just feel like it's become such a big subject now, right? Everyone's more aware of their health and their sleep and their exercise and being healthy, which is great, because I feel like people are taking care of themselves a lot more than what they used to.
I was a little bit disappointed that when I spoke to the doctor when I was having my bad PMS and I was getting anxiety, that he didn't at the time even ask really well, what's your lifestyle like, or what's your diet like, or or shall we test your hormones, or it was just basically, do you want to go on an antidepressant?
And I think sometimes people think, oh, well, I do eat healthy and I do exercise loads. I'm like, okay, well, what's your stress like? Are you working so much that you're really stressed? are you getting enough sleep? Because like for me, sleep's so important. It makes me a different person. If I don't have sleep, I am like a dragon the next day. And I feel it. I need the sleep. And especially after having children, like there is no sleep. And I do feel for new mums because the night feeds are intense and the sleep just goes out the window. And they're like, they say, sleep when you can. And I'm like, I've got so much to do. I can't sleep. But honestly, if I was to go back the next day, I would have slept when I could. I wouldn't have cared about the house and the washing. But I was more like, no, I need to do this, I need to do this. And I just lost so much sleep. But now I think I would have just slept and left it all because, you know, it can be done when it needs to be done.
And I feel like for people who have family or friends nearby, the biggest thing they can do, I'm guessing, I mean, I haven't had children myself yet, but I feel like the biggest thing they can probably offer is just to maybe come and help tidy up.
But you know what? You get so much like, no, I can do it all. I can do it all.
Right.
And you try and do it all. And you literally can't.
Yeah, and I think that's a female thing. It's feeling like you have to prove that you can do it all.
Absolutely.
Career mum, you know, busy mother, cooking everything. Like it's just usually something has to give. And that's, I guess, how things go. And I'm curious because you are a qualified yoga instructor. You've used your platform to show your exercise routines, promote sort of movement, fitness. How would you say your movement routine and fitness regime has helped you when you've recovered from having children?
So for me, movement is therapy. I have to exercise, whether it be going for a run, which I love to do, or doing yoga or Pilates or literally just stretching at home. I have to move because if I'm not moving, I feel like I can get depressed. It's like therapy for the brain, really. And to release those endorphins and just levels out the cortisol is just such a big thing for me personally. And that's why I definitely have to exercise all the time.
Yeah.
I couldn't not exercise. It would just make me not a nice person.
Yeah, oh no, I'm with you on that. And I think it's hard to get into that stage though.
Yeah.
So if you haven't exercised that much as an adult, I think it's quite hard to get to that point where you're like, right, you know, now I need those endorphins.
Yeah.
But once you get there,
then
it's almost like you have to. It's not so hard to exercise anymore because you know without it, life isn't so great.
Yeah, you're just more proactive. And it's funny because the more you exercise, I feel the more energy you get. Where people be like, oh, doesn't it make you tired? I'm like, no, I'm more energized if I exercise. If I don't exercise, I become slouch. If I don't exercise, I eat rubbish. If I exercise, I don't eat rubbish because I feel like I don't want to. But if I'm slouchy and not exercises, then I'll eat the rubbish, and then you feel rubbish, right? Because your gut is so connected to your brain. So if you're eating rubbish food, you feel rubbish, but if you're eating healthy, you feel good, and it's all connected in that way.
In terms of fitting in the exercise though, you've got 3 kids, so you're a very busy woman. You've got a business, you've got a following, and you're producing content. You know, you've got so much going on. And I know that I've spoken on the show before about how there are some studies that have come out to say that women in the UK only around 1 in 4 or less than 1 in 4 are getting the 150 minutes per week that is recommended.
Right, yeah.
And that apparently
is it?
Yeah, 150 minutes a week, which I guess is half an hour broken down 5 times a week.
Fine.
Which sounds a lot, but actually
sounds not a lot for me.
No, I mean it's not too bad, but
I get it. You know, especially being if you're a new mum, and there's a lot to juggle in life when you do have children, right? You've got to do the school drop, you've got to get them up, and most of the time the men are at work, so you do it on your own. I'm not saying that's always the case but in my household, you know, my other half leaves at 7 in the morning, he's not back till like 8:30, 9 at night. So I literally do the full day myself, as well as the household, as well as my work, as well as my content and my Instagram, like you say. And now I do all my ordering, I run the whole business myself. So there is a lot. And sometimes, you know, fitting in exercise can be difficult, and you just have to take each week as it comes. You can't, although I do schedule in my classes, but if I can't make it, I can't make it.
Yeah.
And it's not about what I should do, it's what I can do.
Yeah.
So I'll fit in what I can do that week. And even if it's going for a run when I'm home, or doing my classes, or even if I'm just stretching indoors, just any kind of movement. But I think for any new person, I'd just be like, just go for a 10-minute walk, or just dance in your kitchen.
Yeah.
You know, that's movement, right? Put on the music, put on Alexa and dance to something that you like, and you'll release endorphins because you're moving rather than just sitting on the sofa.
Yeah.
And like with new mums, just take the baby out. I used to put like ankle weights on my ankles, and I was pushing the pram uphill. It's such a workout.
Yeah.
Honestly, my glutes were on fire. But then you're taking the baby for a walk at the same time, so you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah, I guess it's just finding those windows where you can realistically, and not being too hard on yourself.
Yeah.
You just don't know what's going to happen with kids. I guess the thing is with kids, it's so unpredictable.
Yeah.
You could have a really bad night all of a sudden, even though they've been fine for a while, or someone gets sick and they're, not at school that day, and you've got to always be flexible.
But I've got, I don't know if you know, but I've actually got a yoga platform called Yogini Fit, and I've got loads of mums on there because they can do it indoors, whatever time of the day they want. They're 20-minute workouts. So they're really, you can choose whichever level you want it at. And you can do it while the baby's sitting next to you watching or sleeping. And you can do it in your pajamas, whenever you want to do it. And I think at-home workouts work a lot with new mums because they don't have to get themselves ready. They don't have to worry if they've got baby sick on their clothes or if their hair's in a messy bun. No one's watching you. You can just put the telly on and just do it in the comfort of your own home.
And what's your setup with that? So do you film that at home? Like, where do you do your videos?
So I do it in the studio. I choreograph. I normally do like a 6-week program. So I think I've got like 7 or 8 different programs on there at the moment. And they're 6 weeks long. It's a new workout each week, but I recommend to do that workout 3 to 4 times a week, as and when you can. And they're 20 minutes, but obviously there's different levels. There's beginners, there's more advanced. I do some with weights, but it's all kind of like yoga hit sort of workouts. But I do take them slow, and they're slow paced. It's aimed at new mums really, because that's when I created it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's so lovely. And I love that there are tools available now. And, I think things look so different to how they did when, I don't know, our mums, their generation,
Even the gyms were so male, heavy male there, that women didn't even want to go into the gyms either. It's just changed so much, I think.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. If you're enjoying today's episode, please do subscribe or give it a follow so we can keep giving you excellent content and bringing on amazing guests that hopefully you're loving on the Health Review podcast. Now, back to the show. In terms of someone who's been in the public eye for a long time, so you did Celebrity Big Brother. Where was that, by the way? What year was that?
Oh my God, it was 2013. I think it was about 13 years ago.
Gosh.
Yeah, long time. I was 29, so I'm 41 this year. So yeah, about 12 years
Wow,
ago.
okay. So you have been in the public eye for a long time.
Although I kind of like drifted out of it a little bit.
Yeah, you've got a lovely platform though of engaged women and people who follow what you're doing. And I guess with that comes a bit of pressure to feel like I have to bounce back. I hate that term, bounce back.
I know,
by the way.
right?
I don't know. And I think there is still that pressure for women after having children to feel like they want to look like themselves because perhaps they still feel like themselves, but they might not look exactly how they used to. And
I totally understand that.
how did you find that, especially with the aspect of feeling like you've got more people watching you?
I put on 5 stone with my children. I got big, and I got really big bumps, and my boobs went ginormous because I've always had quite big boobs, but I went big. I put on 5 stone with my first child, 4.5 with my second, and 4 with my third. So I got big, and there was a lot of weight to lose, but I did it, and I did it each time. But there was pressure. Like I'd get comments saying, "Oh, she looks like a whale that needs to be harpooned," and things
That's
like
so
that.
horrible.
Yeah, they was on the Daily Mail actually. There was some awful comments, but we know what the Daily Mail's like.
Yeah.
Luckily enough, I've got really thick skin. I understand the industry, and I know these people that say these comments, but it still does, go in the back of my mind. Like for instance, that was 7 years ago, and I still have that comment in my head, right? So they do affect you, but you get used to it kind of thing when you're in the public eye. But, it did put pressure on you bouncing back. But I just feel like now wellness and bouncing back is all about mental health more about than how you look, because that will come, right? When you want to do it will come with time, and it's just all about doing it in your own time, in your own space, and not putting that pressure on you. Because if you put the pressure on yourself, you will get depressed and you will get all of that comes with it. So it's not about being perfect, it's more about being healthy.
That's a really good way to look at it, because we all have unrealistic expectations, and I've spoken about this before on the show, that there is this pressure, with social media. We all know it. We've all spoken about it, and it is there. And I think now with the weight loss jabs, there is even more of a thing where celebrities perhaps are using them, and they are looking ultra thin again. So it feels like that old 90s style.
It just does a circle, doesn't it? Right?
It does indeed. And a realistic expectation for some women. Obviously, it's great to aspire to get back to your shape that you were in before you got pregnant, perhaps. And it's great to exercise. And it's great to think about your diet, but it's also not great to expect that and to put pressure and punish yourself. Things will feel a little different, I'm sure. And I think that's probably something.
Well, and absolutely, because, you get stretch marks, and I've got crepey skin because obviously I put on my belly got so big and I put on so much weight where I've lost the weight. I'll always have like that loosey skin there now on my stomach. But do you know what? That's my war wounds for having my children, right? And they're like me now, and that's part of me because of my babies. So I don't really care, but there's a lot of change that happens after having children, and especially like, and I love it now, but after my first, I had really bad ab separation, and I could literally put my hand and sink it into my stomach, diastasis recti it's called. And literally I was like, oh my God, what's happening? Because my hand would just go into my stomach and it would literally just go straight through because my abs were so separated. Obviously they've come back now, but I remember crying. I was like, what's happened to my body? Because none of this is told to you. I just assumed after you had a baby, your belly would just go back. But it doesn't, and no one tells you this. So I'd literally had the baby and I still looked like I was pregnant. I just thought the baby come out and then that was it. But it doesn't. It takes weeks for your body to adjust. It's taken 9 months to get there. It's not going to go back to normal overnight. It takes weeks. But nobody tells you this. I just feel like there's even with the hormones and PMS, it's not spoken enough about, and there's not enough knowledge given to women to understand their bodies and what they have to go through.
Yeah. Not only those changes that you can see, it's also the hormonal changes that can happen. Not to every woman, but I know just through a few of my friends who've had children, they always say, gosh, my periods are so much worse now. I did not know that this would happen. Yeah, the PMS, the heavy bleeding.
And you literally feel like a crazy person, like what's wrong with me? And it's like you're not. It's literally just your hormones that just need leveling out.
In terms of growing 222 Collective, it's obviously very new, but you've been on a real journey building the brand. As you say, you worked with scientists, you've developed the product. In terms of challenges, have there been any unexpected challenges along the way?
I mean, I think the biggest challenge is that I've been doing the whole thing solo. Like I created the brand, I come up with the concept. I mean, the formulation we've created has never been done before. I do all the packaging myself. I go to the post office every day, which is, I mean, some days I'm going with like boxes and bags. I mean, they must hate me in there. I'm like, great, it's a massive queue.
Oh, that's amazing.
I've had to set up the account, the website all myself. Obviously, got people in to create it, but it's all my designs, all my ideas. I do all the customer care. I do all the content. I do all the posting on Instagram. I'm now learning the TikTok and the Facebook because I'm posting on there. Now I've got to do these TikTok lives. So I'm literally doing everything myself. So I think that's the biggest challenge because I'm trying to fit all of that in, as well as being a mum, as well as running the household, as well as doing the school drops and the clubs and, all of that as well. So I think that's the biggest challenge for me, doing everything. But when I receive these messages from women that literally have been telling me that I've changed their life, that just makes it all worth it for me.
You've got this loyal following of people who perhaps have sort of seen you develop and watched you and supported you for many years, and now it's like you're giving them back
nice.
Something that's really lovely. The name 222 Collective, it's tied to maybe, is it like balance, alignment?
So 222 means balance, harmony, trust, and it's just this whole lovely number. Like some people, I don't know if you know, people that are into their angel numbers and things like that, they wear 222 on their necklaces and things like that. It's a real harmony number, and that was the whole point of the product, just to feel in harmony with your own body and trust and balance, and that's why I loved it. And also it's 3 twos, and I've got 3 daughters, and I'd love for them one day to, if it becomes big enough for them to take over, because there's 3 of them, there's 3 twos.
Sounds like it's got a really sort of personal meaning to you, which is beautiful.
Yeah,
great that you're already thinking ahead to your daughters. So you've got 3 girls.
3 girls, 3 under 3. So,
but you're going to, when they, I mean, obviously very far in the future, when they are all teenagers at the same time, there will be hormones flying. So
I'm going to have an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old, and a 21-year-old.
Goodness, that's going to be really exciting. You will never be bored. You will never be bored when that happens. I've got a few myth-busting questions.
Okay, let's do it.
I love to do this kind of thing. It's kind of, quick fire-ish. Yeah, I think I could answer this one myself, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Fine.
Some people say that you can't balance your hormones naturally. True or false?
Oh, completely false. Absolute myth. Of course, anything naturally can help balance your hormones, from exercise, nutrition, obviously botanical plants. There's so much you can do to help balance your hormones naturally. It does not have to be through medication.
Love that. In terms of exercise, some people have said that you have to exercise for hours to see results. So longer, classes,
Right.
long runs, things like that.
Sometimes too much and too intense exercise can actually be more damaging because it will, release more stress factors, puts your body under pressure. So you have to listen to your own body. So what works for one person is completely different for another person. And sometimes literally just having a gentle stretch is all that your body needs that day. So you have to listen to your own body. But too much sometimes can be worse.
I completely agree with that. Sometimes even just 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Yeah, or just going for a short walk. That's all your body needs at that point. And that also is with cycles as well, right? Depending on where you are in your cycle, depends what your body needs.
Cycle syncing.
Yes,
a big
definitely.
thing
Love that.
Exercising with your hormones and not against them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another one, if you eat clean and exercise, you'll never have hormonal issues, which is something I thought would be true.
Yeah, that is completely false. So you can exercise, you can eat healthy, but hormones is so much more than just that. Like I said before, it's stress management, it's sleep, that definitely comes into balancing your hormones, not just eating healthy and exercise. Of course, that helps, and that's a big factor, but there's so much more to do with it than just that.
And then maybe things like the ashwagandha and the magnesium can help,
Absolutely.
Help with the sleep that then in turn helps
and saffron and lemon balm, all of that.
I haven't tried lemon balm.
Yeah, it's
try that.
very good. Good for bloating.
Yes.
Bloating's massive. I've had loads of people say that the 222s help with their bloating.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Another one, once you're a mum, there's no time to look after yourself. Is that a myth, would you say?
Yes, definitely. Look, people think looking after yourself and self-care is going to the spa or getting away, but it's definitely not. It is prioritising sleep, just having a bath, or like taking your 222 at night, that's like a 30-second thing, but that's going to reset and rebalance you. So just small things is self-care, not going to the spa and going out. So definitely not. You can just do the smallest of adjustments, and that's definitely self-care.
Yeah, that's really good. Like realistic things like going for a walk, being in nature.
Reading a book,
listening to a podcast like this one.
Absolutely. Listening to the health review.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of your own wellness practices, obviously we know you're taking the 222 and you're like figuring out your hormones, which I guess is something that has been really important to you considering what you were going through before. Are there any other practices that you like to incorporate which are kind of a non-negotiable at this point?
You'll probably guess this because I've spoken about it loads, is sleep. I will literally go to bed with the girls and I'm asleep by like 9, half 9 every night, unless obviously I'm out or doing something, which is not very often. I'm definitely a cancelling plans kind of girl.
Oh, no.
I just prefer going to bed because I'm up early with the children as well, and I like sleep. Like I said, I'm a dragon if I don't get my sleep. So I say I go to bed 9, half 9 every night, and that is a non-negotiable for me.
And it's fundamental. Like it really is the sort of the anchor of all the other things, because if you sleep right, then you're more likely to exercise, then you're more likely to eat
healthy.
properly.
If I'm tired, I'll eat rubbish.
Do you have any sleep hygiene rituals? Like I do the mouth tape. I've got the sort of cold room going on.
I mean, I'd love to do that, but I think my children would be scared if I wake up in the night and I'm like got all of this stuff all on my face and I have to get into bed with them. I'll probably give them worse nightmares.
That's so funny.
But I do my skincare regime, take that off, brush my teeth. I've been using a water flosser recently, which I absolutely love.
Yeah.
They're so good. They're really powerful as well. And I'm loving the LED masks at the minute. My girls actually quite like me putting that on. They feel like I look like a transformer. And it's only on for 20 minutes. So literally as I'm getting them ready, I can put it on for 20 minutes.
I saw your story. I was looking at your stories this morning.
I love the LED masks. They're great.
It's good, but I feel like with LED, it's consistency is key.
Yeah.
So I've got one as well.
Yeah.
And I notice, so I get a little bit of pigmentation. I think my skin is quite fair. But if I use the red light, it really calms it down. Actually, like last year, I managed to get rid of it through the red light, which is pretty cool.
I get quite bad breakouts, and the blue light's really been helping me with the oily skin. So
that's really good.
Yeah.
Love that. Do you have any wellness sort of trends that are out there that you wish were gone?
Give me some examples, and I'll say yes or no.
Well, like I maybe like pressure. So I feel sometimes when I see other people's workouts that I'm like, oh, I'm not doing enough.
Yeah. And also, do you know what? I've actually done a funny reel on this before. Nothing against, the younger generations, like in their early 20s, working out all day, because that is amazing. And I love it that they do that. But when they put on their stories, we've all got the same 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
Look, we really have not got the same, especially when you're a mum and you're juggling work life, mum life, everything life. There is definitely not the same 24 hours in a day. And I did a funny reel on it once, and it actually reached quite a few people, because it's not fair. You're putting so much pressure on new mums when they don't have 24 hours. Literally their days and nights are merged into one, and they don't have that. So there is a lot of pressure like that, but then you can't knock them because they're working hard, these people. And, they're trying to get people to motivate them and work out. But I think the whole 24 hours in a day trend needs to stop.
The same 24 hours a day as Beyonce or whatever it is.
Yeah, right. With my chef and my personal trainer and my stylist and my makeup artist.
I know.
We definitely have it.
That would be, I imagine that would be so great. Yeah, I get it when I feel the pressure when, I guess we're all a bit critical of ourselves sometimes. When I see people running marathons and I see people lifting really heavy in the gym, for me, the strength it's a long game, and it's like Reformer Pilates, doing gyms, but kind of doing it gently. And I'm always very cautious of getting injured. But then you see people like lifting really heavy in the gym, and it's also being realistic about what works for you. So I run a few times a week, sometimes, or twice a week. And I know if I run too much, my knees start hurting. And so maybe a marathon isn't right for me.
I do running quite a lot, but I'm quite open on my stories. When I do run, I'll say, do you know what? I walked today because my body didn't want to run, or I stopped, or no, today I did a full 5K without stopping. Every day is different. So you just, like I say, you just got to work with your body and what your body's telling you to do. So if it's like you could feel like, oh, Joe, I can push it today, push it. Actually, today I've just got no energy, so I'm just going to walk it.
Which is the great thing about cycle syncing, or at least being aware.
Yeah.
Because as you say, you know your ovulations. I'm using one of the tracking apps to just measure when I'm where I am, and actually knowing, oh, I'm in my follicular phase. Let's do something strong. Let's like push through this run for the last 10 minutes. But if I'm in my luteal phase, I might not do a run that week, and I may do something more gentle.
Absolutely.
And I think awareness is power.
It's all about that. Yeah, definitely.
Casey, it's been so fun having you on. I've loved our chat.
Yeah, it's been great.
Thank you for coming into the studio, coming on the Health Review. Can't wait to keep up to date with 222, everything that's happening. Where can everyone else follow you, support, check out the product?
Yeah, so my personal page is at Casey Batchelor 1, and my 222 is 222 Collective UK. And if you want to try the product, it's 222collective.co.uk.
Amazing. I'm very excited for your new venture.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see it grow. Thank you so much for coming on the Health Review.
Thank you so much.